You probably don't think about it when you walk into a cafe, a grocery store, or even your own apartment building. But someone owns that space. Every brick, every square foot of land you've ever stood on belongs to someone. And that someone is getting paid for your presence. That's the invisible side of real estate, the quiet machine behind almost every fortune on earth. From the moment you pay rent, buy coffee, or even park your car, you're contributing to someone else's cash flow. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people spend their entire lives funding someone else's wealth, without ever realizing they could have been on the receiving end of it. Real estate has created more millionaires than any other asset class in history. It's not just because land or property is valuable. It's because it turns everyday transactions into streams of passive income. It's wealth that keeps flowing whether you're awake or asleep. But the real secret isn't about buying skyscrapers or mansions. It starts with something much smaller. A mental shift that transforms the place you live into the first piece of your financial foundation. Because once you realize your home can make you money, everything changes. For most people, a home is their biggest expense. But for the wealthy, a home is often their first investment. It's not about luck or inheritance. It's about understanding how to play the game differently. Imagine this. You buy a small duplex, live in one unit, and rent out the other. The rent from your tenant covers most, maybe even all, of your mortgage. Suddenly, you're living for free. What once drained your bank account is now feeding it. This simple idea has helped countless people build their first stepping stone toward financial freedom. And the beauty of it? You don't need millions to start. You just need to see your home not as shelter, but as leverage. That's the real turning point. When your biggest liability transforms into your first cash-flowing asset. Each month, as you pay down the mortgage, a portion of that money becomes yours. It's not rent disappearing into someone else's pocket anymore. It's equity quietly building in the background. And when you decide to move on, that property doesn't leave your life. It starts working for you. Now you're not just living somewhere. You own somewhere that pays you to exist. There's a unique feeling the first time money shows up in your account while you're asleep. It's quiet, almost anticlimactic, but it changes something inside you. You realize you've finally escaped the rule that says you must trade time for income. That's what happens when your tenants start paying you rent every month. It's not glamorous. Sometimes you'll deal with small repairs, maybe a late payment, but the principle is profound. Your property is now doing the work instead of you. Think about how most people earn money. They wake up, clock in, and repeat the same cycle until the end of the month. But when you own a property that generates income, every month becomes a step closer to freedom. It's like building a machine that pays your bills, and once it's built, it doesn't stop running. This is where the real mindset shift happens. Wealth isn't about hustling harder, it's about creating systems that continue producing even when you don't. And real estate, when done right, is one of the most reliable systems there is. Each property becomes a small business, one that grows, compounds, and rewards patience. And once you taste that kind of leverage, you start asking a dangerous question. How can I multiply this? Once you realize a single property can earn for you, the next step feels almost inevitable: expansion. But here's where many people go wrong. They think growth just means buying more properties. In truth, the smartest investors don't just own real estate, they run it like a business. That's the difference between being a landlord and being an entrepreneur. A landlord collects rent. An entrepreneur creates experiences people are willing to pay more for. Take short-term rentals, for example. A simple two-bedroom apartment can suddenly triple its income if it's managed strategically. Clean design, great photos, thoughtful touches, and location appeal. You're no longer offering just a place to stay. You're offering a temporary lifestyle. Platforms like Airbnb made this shift accessible to anyone with vision. What used to require hotel-level resources now depends mostly on creativity and service. In cities like Miami, Lisbon, or Bali, people have turned modest homes into cash machines simply by understanding human behavior. What makes guests feel something? Because at the end of the day, hospitality isn't about real estate. It's about psychology. If people feel comfortable, inspired, or connected to your space, they'll pay more, stay longer, and spread the word. When you start to think this way, your property stops being just an investment. It becomes a brand, one that generates income, reputation, and momentum for your next move. At some point, every smart investor realizes something powerful. Real estate wealth isn't about buying value. It's about creating it. Instead of hunting for perfect properties, you start looking for imperfect ones. The kind that others overlook. A faded paint job, an outdated kitchen, a neglected lawn. Where most people see problems, you see opportunity. Because when you improve a property, you're not just making it prettier, you're literally increasing its worth. Fixing that roof, upgrading that bathroom, or adding a fresh coat of paint isn't just maintenance, it's transformation. And when that transformation is done wisely, the property's value and rental income rise together. Here's the magic part. Once it's renovated and rented, you can refinance it based on its new value. That means you can pull out much of the cash you originally invested while still keeping the property and the monthly income it generates. Then, you repeat the process. This is how small investors quietly build empires. They're not waiting decades to save enough for the next deal. They're using creativity, vision, and strategy to multiply what they already have. It's not about owning real estate. It's about understanding how to manufacture wealth out of thin air. And once you master that skill, it's hard to see the world the same way again. As your confidence grows, so does your perspective. You start to realize that real estate isn't just about homes, it's about income streams. Owning a single property that rents to families is fine, but leasing to businesses? That's a different world. When a cafe, a law firm, or a fitness studio signs a lease, they're committing for years, not months. They pay on time, maintain the space, and often cover taxes and insurance themselves. That's the quiet beauty of commercial real estate. Fewer surprises, longer contracts, and more predictable returns. You're not chasing tenants. You're partnering with professionals who treat the property as their livelihood. And while the stakes are higher, bigger down payments, bigger responsibilities, so are the rewards. Each deal becomes a strategic move, not just a purchase. It's a shift from playing defense to offense, from owning buildings to owning business opportunities. Once you understand that principle, you stop asking, "How can I buy more?" and start asking, "How can I buy smarter?" Here's a truth most people miss. Not all wealth comes from glamorous properties. Some of the highest-yielding assets are the least exciting ones. Think of self-storage facilities, mobile home parks, laundromats, or farmland. They don't make headlines, but they make money. These assets are simple, low maintenance, and consistent, the exact opposite of luxury real estate, yet often more profitable. A storage unit doesn't call you about plumbing. Farmland doesn't sit vacant for long. People always need food. And a laundromat doesn't care about recessions. People still need clean clothes. That's why seasoned investors love these boring plays. Predictable cash flow, minimal hassle, and quiet scalability. They're not chasing trends. They're building foundations. True wealth often hides in plain sight. It's not the flashy penthouse overlooking the city. It's the row of storage lockers behind it, quietly paying the bills. Eventually, you reach a point where buying existing properties no longer excites you, because now you see something bigger. You stop searching for the right property and start creating it. That's the mindset of a developer. You look at empty land and imagine what it could become. An office complex, a set of apartments, maybe even a retail space in a growing neighborhood. It's no longer about buying cash flow. It's about building it from the ground up. Of course, development takes vision, patience, and courage. You deal with permits, contractors, and risk. But the upside can be generational. Turning dirt into demand is how some of the world's greatest fortunes were made. And once you understand timing, where growth is heading, how cities expand, and what people will need next, you're no longer following the market. You're shaping it. At the highest level, real estate stops being about wealth and starts being about control. Major investment funds and corporations now buy thousands of homes at once, sometimes entire neighborhoods before they even hit the market. For them, it's not about passive income. It's about owning the system itself. Take global asset managers or pension funds. They're so large that their decisions can shift housing prices for entire cities. When the market rises, they profit. When it crashes, they get bailed out. It's a game where risk is privatized, but failure is socialized. Meanwhile, the average person struggles to buy a first home, wondering why prices keep climbing. The answer? Because ownership has been consolidated. Real estate in their hands isn't property, it's policy. It's an uncomfortable truth, When assets become too concentrated, housing stops being a necessity and turns into a lever of power. If you've made it this far, you've probably realized something profound. Real estate isn't just about buildings or land. It's about understanding how money moves through the world. Every home, every office, every patch of land tells a story of ownership. Someone took the risk to control it, and now it pays them back. That's the real truth about making money with real estate. It's not about luck or timing. It's about learning how to participate in the flow instead of being swept away by it. You don't need to be rich to start. You just need to start thinking like an owner. Because once you do, you stop living at the mercy of rent, inflation, or circumstance, and begin designing a life that pays you back for every decision you make. Wealth doesn't begin with the property you buy.